Hey guys, in this session we'll see refresh activities using Datapump. In most of the companies, if you are a fresher, then these activities are quite important, and if you are an experienced person, you would have definitely encountered these kind of activities. We have a tool called Datapump, and this tool contains two utilities called EXPDP and IMPDP. So EXPDP is used for exporting the data from source, and IMPDP is used to import the data to the destination. Here source and destination mean production, and destination is the QA, development, testing, or POC. Why this activity is performed? Application team performs some testing, like any performance testing or duplicates of data or any data consistencies. All these kind of testings will be performed in either of these databases like QA or development or testing. They cannot do it in a production, right? So the real-time data will be stored, and the database also will be live. That is the reason we export the data and import it into a testing database. Majority of the activities will be on table refresh, schema refresh, and query refresh. Most of the projects you will not be encountered with query refresh. You will always be given table or schema refresh as a DBA. These are all the examples of refresh activities. Refreshing a table in same schema with the same name, refreshing a table with same schema with different name, and refreshing a table from one schema to another with the same name, refreshing a table from one schema to another schema with a different name. Let's see how we can do that. So here the scenario is QA team requests the DBA to refresh the below table from one schema to another schema in the same database. So here we have some pre-checks before performing the refresh. We need to check the size of the table. Let's check the size of the table. We have a view called DBA segments. This view contains details related to all tables, indexes, partitions, etc. There are two tables with the name employees. Okay, both the schemas contain the same table, and size is very small. It is only 16 or 17 KB in size. KB. The next thing is we need to check the space available in file system. Before that, we need to check the logical directory in the database to identify the file system location. Okay. We have another view called DBA directories. We can check the logical directory name under this view. So here logical directory means the file system location will be mapped with a directory name in the database, so that the database recognizes that if you specify this name as directory, it has to go inside this specific location. So for each and every directory location there will be a name. So we can also create our own directory. create or replace directory name. So this is the directory name which will be recognized by the database. I will give /home/oracle. Okay, so in real time you should not use /mount point or the mount points which are related to the OS files or the root. I mean the files which are specifically stored in OS mount points. In those mount points you should not specify. You should always be having an exclusive directory in your projects for exporting the data itself. You should ask your team to get the details of the export directory, and then you need to create the logical directory. Okay, so here we given /home/oracle. You can copy paste this command itself. So exp is my directory name. We can remove this, and /home/oracle. Okay, now we need to check the space available in /home/oracle or /mount point. You can say df-h. So under /mount point we have almost 12 GB. So this is more than enough for storing 17 KB table. So we are good to go for the next point. 12 GB here you can say. So here you need to check the grants on the table. In our case grants are not required. Why? Because database is same. In such scenarios where the database is different, say for example, if there is a production database and you are trying to export the data from production to a QA or development, in that scenario you need to take the grants backup. Why? Because the application user has read-only access in production and read-write access in test or development. The grants will be changing if you are exporting the data across the different database. So we can skip this step for now. Before that, we have to estimate the archive generation while import of the table. Now we don't need to perform this step. We can perform this step only during the import. Next point is to check the version of the database. Here source and destination version are same. Why? Because the database itself same. We don't need to bother about this. Let's start the export. I'll create a PAR file. I'll specify all the parameters. So here directory means the logical directory that we specified earlier. exp is the directory. So in reality you don't need to always create the directory. Why? Because already there will be existing directories created by someone for exporting the data. But if it does not exist, then you can create your own directory on the export mount point. Next thing is dump file. You can specify your own name for dump file, and you can also specify your own name for log file. Dump file has an extension .dmp and log file has an extension .log. Dump file stores the table data and it will pad the details inside this. And log file is used for monitoring the progress of the export. You can check the details inside this log file. And for tables, you can specify the source table name. So here the scenario is application team has requested to refresh the table employees from one schema to another in the same database. So that's why we specify the source schema name and the table name. EXPDP is the utility. You can invoke it from the OS level, then followed by the username. So we need to specify sysdbs username, and you can specify the par file. The par file is the parameter. So this is the parameter file, which is the extension for par file. You can specify the password now. Export is started. So while export, this will not only export the table data, all the relevant dependents of the table also will be exported, like index statistics, table statistics, marker, table, comment, index, constraints, referential constraints, trigger. All these dependency data will be exported. You can see job has been completed. So this table is very small, that's why it is very fast. And you can see the elapsed time, how much time it has taken, only 16 seconds. Now you can check the dump file. So this is the dump file which is created now. This is the log file. You can check the log file for the details. The same detail that you've seen in the screen will be printed in the log file. Now I'll create an import par file. I'll copy paste the same parameters from export par file. Here directory will be same, dump file will be same. Why? Because this is the same database that you are importing, that's why directory will not change. And dump file, you are going to import the data from this dump file which you have exported, so that's why you need to specify the same dump file. And log file will be different. Why? Because for import you should be having a separate log file, and table should be same. Here you need to specify a new parameter called remap schema. I need to specify the source schema colon destination schema. So what this parameter says, I'm going to export the table employees from this schema to this schema. So this is the meaning of using this parameter. Okay. So if it is same schema, then you don't need to specify the parameter. I'll say IMPDP and I'll say parameter file is equal to this one. I will give the password. So you have some couple of errors. So this says that table already exists. All dependent and metadata will be skipped due to table exist action of skip. So why? Because the table is already available under test schema. So that's why the import has been skipped. So we have another parameter called table exists action. So here you can say replace. Okay. By default, this parameter value will be skip. Why? Because if the table already exists under test schema, then this parameter's value skip will make the import to skip. So that's why we saw the message that data will be skipped due to table exist action of skip. So that's why we exclusively specify this parameter called replace. What it will do? This will override the existing data. Even if the table exists under test schema, still it will the import utility will override the data. Here you can see there are some errors. So these errors you cannot do anything. Why? Because these are all the application entity errors. It's due to foreign key constraints and trigger errors. So you can mention these errors to your application team to look into it. But our end goal is to import the data, right? So we can validate this by checking the table. See, you can get 107 rows similar to the source schema, right? So now you can say table has been refreshed from one schema to another, and you can also mention that we got some of the constraint errors.